All right. Let's talk about Parler. I'm going to give a very open and honest review of Parler as a social media platform, and I am a Parler user. I have bought in. I am a pro Parler person. PPP. Pro Parler person. All right. So let's talk about this social media platform, which is a great alternative to those like me who have received a permanent ban from Twitter and facing probably another ban here coming up from Facebook. And people like myself who are a firm believer in First Amendment rights and freedom of speech, being us being censored from that freedom by these large platforms, even YouTube or Google or whatever. So Parler is a great alternative. I made the switch, I want to say, towards the end of, I've been on the platform roughly about a month and a half now, I'm guessing, right? Somewhere around there. And I really didn't take it too seriously for the first 2 weeks because I was just kind of feeling it out. And, I ended up committing to Parler as a channel probably about 3 weeks ago. So I'm going to compare the good, the bad, the ugly, because one of the things that I love to talk about or brag about is the fact that I tend to be as fairly unbiased as possible at the beginning. And then, everybody builds bias as they go on. So let's dig right in. I'm going to talk about three things, I think. Maybe it'll be four. But the one thing I want to talk about is user interface and the platform itself. Then I want to talk about the differences between the two different types of users. And then three, I want to maybe give some helpful hints as far as what could be done to monetize the platform. And I'm going to talk about clunkiness. I'm going to talk about some of the things that I don't like too. So let's dig in. What you're seeing on my screen, and I'm going to share my full screen because you don't need to look at my ugly face the entire time. What I'm showing you here is Parler. When you first sign into Parler, you are seeing an unsecure, I'm going to knock them right off the bat. I'm seeing an unsecure feed. Okay. That needs to be fixed. But you're seeing my feed. So this is I'm seeing this based on something that was echoed by somebody who I'm following. We're going to talk about social media hygiene, or social hygiene, as I like to call it, as we go through. And then I have some clunkiness with how things stand out. And I want to be very clear also that the mobile experience is a much better experience for the user. Okay, it has a much better user interface. It's easier to use, and I have recommended to other people who have made this switch to Parler with me that they use it from their mobile device. But the reason why I'm showing you this on desktop is because it's easier than showing you my mobile experience. Is that marketers, as we're trying to build our platforms, are going to be using our desktop. We're going to be using the desktop version of this platform to do a lot of our publishing. And we can do a lot of things from mobile, obviously, but as we're producing feeds, etc., it's easier to do that, or it should be easier to do that from a desktop version. Let's move on. So the very first thing we're looking at with Parler is here's my dashboard, my feed, and the user experience could be a little bit better. This is not easy on the eyes. I'm assuming that they're going to make some UX changes, that they've committed themselves to this color scheme, which if that is, it's only on desktop, but if, please make that different. So I have my feed here, and then the next thing I have are my notifications. So my notifications are going to be based directly on somebody upvoting a post of somebody, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, it'll show somebody that I am following here versus not following, giving me the opportunity for somebody who upvoted one of my comments or posts or echoed, etc. And there's a clear delineation. While Parler is very similar to Twitter in specific ways, they're also a little bit different, but they're basing everything on followers, and echoes are the equivalent to tweets or retweets, right? So somebody echoes a post, that means they're retweeting. And I'm not going to do a lot of comparisons to Twitter because I recommend that everybody stops being a twit. Okay. Get away from that. Get away from Twitter. So then we have our Discover tab, which allows us to see what other people are posting that maybe we're not connected to, which gives us an opportunity to explore and discover other content within their app, within their platform, which is wonderful. Talks about affiliates, talks about users, discover other users. So if I go through, this is all pretty simple. So I'm following Team Trump, I'm following Eric Trump, but I'm not following Dan Bongino, and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to explain why I used to follow Dan Bongino, and I used to follow Mark Levin, and I used to follow Ted Cruz. I don't know if I ever used to follow Rand Paul. I don't really remember, but I'm following Rudy Giuliani, and I'm following Parler. All right, so let's talk about the bad, okay? The bad and the problems with the user experience is, one, I have not seen the cloud of this hashtag cloud. I have not seen that change in the last month and a half. They have been the same ever since I started on this platform. That is an opportunity. I'm not going to call things failures in this episode. That is an opportunity to do better, because it allows, if you change this Parler, it will allow your users to be more relevant. Okay. And that's the importance of why Twitter does what they do with their hashtag clouds, is they're giving the most relevant and popular hashtags their global platform. So it builds user interaction, and it causes people to easily click on the things that they're most passionate about, based on current media, because I really don't care about video games. And I've seen video games for a month and a half, roughly a month and a half. Okay. Just, this is an opportunity. All right. And then there's a couple of quirky things, and I want to delineate the difference between a media marketer and a follower. And this is something that probably the dev crew already knows, and I'm not trying to throw it in your face or not, but the follower is somebody who's going to follow. So Eric Trump is an example. I probably shouldn't follow him anyways, and it's that easy to just unfollow somebody, which is wonderful. I want to keep up with what Team Trump is doing, but Eric Trump really doesn't fit, what I'm looking for. So this is pretty easy. But there's an opportunity. So if you're a follower, you're going to follow these people, right? And I'm not knocking Dan Bongino or Mark Levin or any of the other people, but I know that the people that I follow are going to be echoing what you're saying. And it gives me an opportunity to not have all of your stuff thrown in my face all the time. Okay, because I want to think for myself, and that's just my thing. I don't want to eat your evening feed, if you will. So what I'm doing, and this is just my personal preference, is I'm causing you to use your platform, or use Parler as a platform, using Dan Bongino as an example, that I'm only going to read what my followers and the people that I'm following back, using good social media hygiene. I'm only going to read what's important and valuable to them. Okay, this is a key marketing issue that people don't realize. So when we talk, and I did a whole segment, not just because of Parler, but I talked about social media hygiene, or good social media hygiene, or good social hygiene, in a different episode. And I would recommend people read that, because it's the difference between talking at people and talking to. So one of the very first things that I look at, and going back into the follower, if you are a follower, okay, if you are a follower of people, what I tend to look at here is how many people are following this person versus how many people they're following in return. And then I also look at the response to comments. So the reason why I unfollowed Dan Bongino is because I noticed that he has 1.2 million followers, which is wonderful. But at the same time, he was only following 247 people. So he's talking at people and saying, here, it's like mainstream media. Here's how you should think about this, or here's this, or here's that. But I really don't give a shit what you have to say about it. And I'm trying not to swear on the videos. Okay. But I don't want to follow those people, because I don't want people to talk about how I should think or how I should feel about something. I'm more interested in whatever the topic is, and having meaningful conversations around whatever those topics are. So for that reason, and that reason only, it isn't a dislike of who they are or what they say. I have no interest in following somebody who's trying to be a shepherd, if you will. And a good example, not Dan Bongino per se, is Matt Gaetz. Right. And again, I like Matt Gaetz, but if I look up Matt Gaetz, who I don't follow either, I think, Matt Gaetz. If I look up Matt Gaetz, I don't know, Matt Gaetz. here you go, Matt Gaetz as an example. And I start looking because I followed him right off the bat. And I said, here's a good dude that seems to be doing a positive, a positive message, you know, pushing out a positive platform. And, you know, we have all these different colors, which is confusing. Just make it one, please. Well, one of the things that I noticed about Matt Gaetz is stuff like this right here, this self-promotion. Okay. And every time I would read Matt Gaetz's posts, again, if I look at his basic, you know, he has 118,000 followers, but he's only following 69 people back. That means that he's just talking at you. And what is his message? His message, probably 80 or 90% or even better, and I am knocking your use of this platform, Matt, is a constant look at me, look at me, look at me. Here's what I'm talking about. Here's what I'm talking about. And I don't really give a shit what show you're about to be on to talk about different things. I want to know how you feel about it and how you're actually doing your job to represent the constituents, not me, that represented you. So I would encourage all of you, the Devin Nunez, the Matt Gaetzes, the Dan Bonginos, to create that interaction and thank me later for that, because as you build more constant interaction, you're going to become informed as far as what's important to the people who you claim to represent. Okay. And I'm going to get off my high horse. If you're a follower, you're going to follow these people because you're looking for you're using this platform as a media source. But now let's flip over to the marketing side, because I noticed a quirk, and I'll talk about that. So if you're a marketer like me and you have something to say and you want that constant interaction, or you want to grow your user audience, you should use Parler in a different way, which I also just kind of explained, but I'm going to go into further detail. So let's assume that I just started on Parler today and I want to build up that audience. Okay, how am I going to do that? I'm going to look for people with good social media hygiene, and I'm going to use Joey Saladino as an example, and I'm following him. And more importantly, Joey has followed me back. Okay, so I know that he's going to see what I have to post. I'm going to see what he has to post. I've commented on some of his stuff. He's passed the test of responding to those comments, not all of them. I do not selfishly expect that I should have a direct relationship with Joey. He has his own platform, etc. But he's given the opportunity to pass that litmus test, if you will. So if I was going to build my network, and one of the issues of building the network, so starting off with, he's following 49,000 people, he has 23,000 followers, because not everybody is going to follow you back, which is fine. But he went into this platform, and there's some other great examples. Swig is a good example. And there are others that went in and intentionally followed people to build that audience. And then I'm going to talk about the first hurdle that I received with Parler. Okay, so what Joey does is he's going in and he's looking for people who may be willing to follow him back to hear his message. So if I wanted to build my network, which obviously I want to do, I'm going to go into his followers. If that message is similar, if you think that audience is going to like what you have to say, because you're fishing, right? You're fishing, and not in a bad way. You're not fishing. You're fishing in hopes as a marketer that you're going to share common ground with a user audience. And it's always an attempt, and this may sound bad to people, but you're always looking to gain subscribers. You're always looking to push that message out to more people. So if assuming Joey and my message are very similar, and I think that his audience would like mine, I'm going to go through and I'm going to do a follow campaign. Okay, and it's super simple. I'm going to go in and figure out who is following him, and knowing that he follows people back and he's practicing good social hygiene. This is how you build your network. You start following their followers. And that's the only hurdle that I've seen. And I've seen a couple other hurdles based on the platform, which I'm also going to talk about. But the only hurdle that I received so far is on 2 occasions. I followed too many people, and Parler gave me a 24-hour timeout from being able to follow any more people, which is fine. I understand why they do that, because you'll have other groups that'll actually come in and just do this bot follow stuff, and Twitter does the same thing, etc. But it can be kind of limiting, and I believe that number is roughly about 1,000. I'm guessing. I don't really know. And I went through and I just started building it up. And what happens is that creates a litmus test for us as marketers. That, let's assume I have 23,000 followers, and I put out an episode about how, I don't know, chipmunks were found eating oranges out of a tree in Florida. And I start noticing that my follower group is going down. That's the litmus test for me to say that's the wrong messaging. That isn't what my audience wants to hear about. That is not my avenue. Okay, so the only limitation that I've seen from that standpoint of building your audience as a marketer is that timeout, or the velocity trigger that will cause a 24-hour timeout. Now, Parler, helpful hint, okay, that some of us have, again, been banned for speech, banned for everything, or banned for all different things. I would recommend that changes a little bit as far as how you go about throttling people, or throttling their activity. And the reason being is because that could potentially be a turnoff for certain people. That could potentially be a turnoff for the people who have received those permanent bans. I'm about to receive another permanent ban from Facebook. I think this will be my 5th account that I spin up. So there's always a fear on our end that we're participating, or we're committing to a platform, and I've committed to your platform, and I appreciate what you're doing. But there's always that opportunity that when we receive that throttling, or whatever that is, that we automatically go into our secondary defensive mechanism of censorship. Okay, so it's kind of it's a fine line. All right. So anyways, and I want to talk about some of the other just things. Okay, how do we go in? We can literally just create a message. So one of the things here, I'm one of the issues, I guess, if you will, or one of the opportunities, again, I don't want to call it a failure, is let's assume that I want to go ahead and create a post. It's not easy on mobile. It's easy, but here, I'm going to go ahead and create my post. I'm going to upload whatever this is, smiley faces, emojis, images, etc. I will give you kudos that when I decide to save an image, Parler, off of your platform, it immediately goes, if I'm on mobile, it immediately goes into my photos, which that's a great development tool, because you don't have to worry about all of these extra steps that the other social media platforms are forcing you to do. So wonderful. So I can create a post. And then one of the other things that I can do, because here I am with Joey's post, I can immediately go in and create a comment based on this. I can echo or retweet, or I can upvote it. Okay. And it's important, if you're a user on Parler, that you don't just read. Okay. Because anybody can do that. If you're using Parler and you're committed to using Parler as a platform, you want to echo what you like. You want to upvote what you like, and you want to create comments, and you want to create meaningful conversations, and you want to talk about all of these things. So the Democrats expect us to go 6 months without the gym for our health. All right. So I'm going to just use this as an example because it was posted 18 minutes ago. And I'm going to create a comment, and I'm going to say, seems oxymoronic. Doesn't it? Now, I don't exactly know why Parler in their spell check is saying that oxymoronic is spelled wrong, because I promise that is spelled absolutely correct. Oxymoronic being jumbo shrimp, things that don't make sense. Okay. So then I'm going to go ahead and reply. I've used 29 out of 1,000. So this is actually a great example. I don't even know what Twitter's is now, because I haven't used their platform in a while, but it used to be like 250 or something like that, 55. I mean, it went up and up and up and all this other stuff. But one of the benefits of using Parler is it gives you more characters to be able to share whatever your thought is, without trying to figure out how you're going to truncate or shorten your message in a more and still make it a palatable message. So I just responded to this, right? Seems oxymoronic, doesn't it? And he may or may not respond to that. Okay. And that's fine. So I just replied to his comment. I can create a comment here. And then what I want to do here is, if I really like this message, and it's just a one sentence message, I'm going to upvote it. And if I really truly appreciate, I've already commented on it, I'm going to echo it. Now, the difference between your desktop platform and your mobile platform is your mobile platform is going to ask you if you want to echo or echo with comment. If you just echo it, you can just be one click echo and boom, you just echoed his post. In this, I'm going to echo with a comment. I'm going to say, great point. Oops. Point. And I'm going to tag him in it at Joey Salads. Okay, so this is going to tag him in it. Now, if I wanted to create a hashtag, because I'm showing you how to use this platform now, I could use a hashtag of what? I mean, I want to be able to know what's out there, and it's going to do a pretty decent job, I believe, on desktop. I'm not sure. And this might be a flaw that I'm about to point out, but let's assume that I wanted to do mask. Oops, mask. If you're on mobile, it's going to pull up your most popular hashtags that are representative of what you're trying to do. Or I could do hashtag scamdemic. That's a pretty relevant hashtag. And I'm going to go ahead and say that. So now I've echoed this post. All right. But at the same time, it didn't pull up the popular hashtags for what I was trying to accomplish, which I don't know. That's fine. There's a lot of development that I'm sure is happening behind the scenes. I'm going to tag Parler on this post when I'm finished with it. I'm going to wind this down, and I'm going to talk about one of the biggest issues that I see, that I've seen recently, and that is I call it getting an A versus keeping an A. So if I could give the devs any opportunity, I have to talk about one more thing after this, but if I could give you one big opportunity, it is that your social media platform is becoming very popular very quickly. Actually, I have two more things to talk about after this. One of the issues that I see is mid-afternoon when I'm trying to log into Parler and I get a network timeout because your servers are overloaded. That is a core fundamental responsibility of you owning the platform, is to ensure that you have enough bandwidth to meet the demands of the people who are trying to use it. Okay, there's never an excuse by anybody, doesn't matter who it is, for not or following that or successfully meeting that demand, if you will. All right. The second thing that's clunky is when somebody sends me a private message. And then I'm going to talk about one last thing, because the last thing is my fear of what I see potentially happening. When I go to when I receive a message from somebody on your platform, it isn't really easy. I see a big red notification, but it isn't easy to navigate out of that. The other thing that I'm going to talk about, and this is why I have two other things, is one of the absolute largest opportunities, Parler, for you to improve your platform is to be able to delineate what types of messages that I'm receiving, because I may only have 4 here and I can clear them all. Okay. But wouldn't it be nice for me to be able to delineate the difference just here? And this is an easy fix. Okay. So, don't come back at me with how difficult it is to develop this, because it isn't. I live in this world. To be able to create the difference and click on upvotes versus posts versus followers versus etc. So I can go through and click through my navigation to see who's new that followed me versus somebody who upvoted my stuff, etc., or new posts from somebody I'm following. This is messy. Okay. And this is just housekeeping. It's super easy to create new tabs. I've done it. That's what I do for a living, besides social media, is actually create these platforms. And I'm not asking to do it for you or offering to do it for you. That's your job. The last thing that I want to talk about is monetizing your platform. And this is a direct message to Parler because it's important from what I see. Again, this is just what I see, is that I am not seeing enough opportunities on your end. And this scares me as a potential user who's committed to using your platform, that I do not see you guys using the opportunity to build revenue through ads. And that's extremely important because you are fitting within a specific bucket of the conservative movement, which I'm conservative, but I'm not Republican. But there should be an opportunity, and I don't see enough buy-in. I don't see enough buy-in, and I'll see something with the Trump ad as I go through, something in here that'll say, yeah, promoted for. Okay, this is a huge opportunity, Parler. You got to go after this. You got to go after more of this. So this is a Team Trump, but at the same time, there's plenty of opportunities through Grunt Style or Black Rifle Coffee or any of these other conservative groups to actually push out their messaging and their merchandise and everything else through sponsored ad placements on your platform. And if you don't do that, I don't see how you're going to be able to pay people and build more bandwidth and build and grow your platform if you don't have the network or the ad network in place in order to support the growth that's necessary. And then what happens is you end up borrowing money or venture capital or whatever that is to try and grow your platform faster than you can build the revenue. And then at the point in time when you decide to either go public or you end up a year or 2 years down the road, you end up in a position where you're undercapitalized for the platform that you've grown or that you've built and grown, because you haven't grown it on all different sides. So if I could implore to you, Parler, please do that. Please do that, because it's an important step within business. And I'm not trying to sell you anything. It's just something that's there. I hope you enjoyed and you learned something from how I use Parler and the things that I see and the opportunities. I think it's a growing network. I think it's an outstanding network for people to use that fit the conservative side as they're being censored and all of these other more liberal, I don't even know what you call it, the censorship, the cancel culture. You're an important facet. You're an important platform for us to use for people who don't fit in, who have been censored, who are just sick and tired of being sick and tired of the Facebooks and the Twitters and everything else. So that wraps everything up. I hope you learned something. If you want to see more of these videos, hit the subscribe button. I'm here to maybe give you some different things to talk about. So thank you.